Well, glory be and mercy me. We've done it yet again. Here we are, walking through the graveyard, the daily walk. Lots of dogs around today, guys. So if I get interrupted by dogs accosting me, please forgive me. It's, we don't have control of what's going on around us, really. So today's video is about, finally, I'm reporting on Aaron O'Toole's ouster as leader of the Conservative Party. Honestly, this is done without too much fanfare. We all kind of knew it was coming, honestly, for Mr. O'Toole. It was really just a matter of when. I mean, we are talking about a Conservative Party that ousted Andrew Scheer, even as Andrew Scheer gained seats for the Conservatives, took the Liberals from a majority position into a minority position. The Conservative Party still got rid of Andrew Scheer. And so Aaron O'Toole, after his poor showing at the last election, no seats, losing votes, in my perception, it was only a matter of time. But the events surrounding O'Toole's ouster is the truck convoy, right? And the straw that breaks the camel's back, it looks like, is O'Toole's sort of waffling on his support, that he doesn't come to support the protest vehemently enough or quickly enough, right? He doesn't really want to gamble on the success of this protest. And really, honestly, many of the Conservatives are taking that gamble, and it's a huge gamble, given the counter-protests, given the unpopularity. And once again, it just shows you how unpopular and frankly out of touch the Conservative Party is with the demands of the majority of Canadians. The ouster of O'Toole, the reason why I didn't leap to it and be like, oh, O'Toole, he's gone, all those guys, is because it doesn't really matter, honestly. It doesn't really matter, right? The position of the Conservative Party is and will remain, now until forever, support for the capitalist death cult. That the capitalist death cult, through their corporate power structure, has seized control of the political apparatus, has seized control of the society, right? Doesn't take a genius to figure this out. We all sell ourselves into a labor market dominated by the billionaire class. The ideology that they follow, neoliberalism, is being put forward without evidence, facts, empathy or compassion, right? The committing of austerity against the public is overt and obvious. You've got to be a complete dunder to not understand these things. And because the prevailing ideology is put forward without evidence, and the people who are adhering to it with passion, it's a cult. And what's the result of this cult? To destroy the species through climate change. That makes it a death cult. And because it's capitalist, it's a capitalist death cult. And so it wouldn't matter if it's O'Toole, Harper, Scheer, Poilievre, who Pierre Poilievre is likely the next leader of the Conservative Party. It doesn't matter, because they all support fundamentally the same thing, and they facilitate the same role in the Conservative-Liberal alliance. Why do I say it's an alliance? Because both the Conservatives and the Liberals operate to maintain the death cult. That the disagreements that are existent between these two groups are strictly based on principles of identity, right? Race, gender, these sorts of things, right? Religion. These are the conversations that are allowable between the Conservatives and the Liberals. The disagreements that they have are strictly done along these lines. And so, with the ouster of O'Toole, what the Conservatives are doing is they are moving once again further to the right. O'Toole moved the party slightly to the left, right? But again, it was only on identity lines. That even the Liberals are committing to the failed ideology of neoliberalism, and so are not a threat to the Conservatives along those lines. What that ultimately means is that in our bourgeois politics, right, in our political system that's dominated by corporate power, It means that all politics is vanity, right? That Poilievre is not interested in becoming the leader of the Conservative Party because he has a vision for Canada and we're going to help Canadians and we're going through these trying times. We actually have to pass policies to actually help Canadians, right? He wants to be the Prime Minister of Canada so that he can be the Prime Minister of Canada. That's it, right? It's very much how Donald Trump wanted to become the president because he wanted to be the president. Wasn't interested in helping anybody, passing policy to do anything, right? Wasn't interested in that. He wanted to be the president. And it's the same thing with Joe Biden. It's the same thing with Poilievre. It's the same thing with Justin Trudeau, right? Justin Trudeau is not really interested in helping anybody or doing anything important. If he was, he'd be doing it. What he's interested in is being the Prime Minister of Canada. So in Canada and the United States, all politics is vanity. It's all vanity projects where people are not fighting for the well-being of the populace. They're fighting for their own vanity so that they can say that they're the congressperson or the MP or whoever, right? And ultimately, all of them, without exception, turn to their owners, the corporate power structure, and say, "What do you need from us, sir?" And read the cue cards that they're given, right? That's the structure. So I don't make too much hoopla about Aaron O'Toole getting ousted, and I won't make that much hoopla when Justin Trudeau steps down finally and Chrystia Freeland takes his place, right? It's not that big a deal. And the role of the alliance between the Conservatives and the Liberals is to keep power within the hands of the death cult. They do this by creating one option that is repugnant, that gathers up the racists and the bigots and the xenophobes that exist within the society and gets them under one umbrella, right? That's the Conservatives. And this gives an enemy to unify the populace against under the umbrella of the Liberals. The irony of this, of course, being that the Liberals are going to run a campaign of anti-racism and anti-xenophobia while denouncing the use of swastikas and Confederate flags while they actively fund neo-Nazi groups abroad in Ukraine and while their leader is become well known as wearing blackface. It's an enormous irony that exists within Canadian politics, but they're going to do it anyway. Our next election is going to look very much like the election between Biden and Trump, where the Democrats were, without any evidence or sense of awareness, claiming that they were the party of, that they were the morally righteous party compared to the fascist Donald Trump. And really, there's no difference between the two because neither the Democrats or the Republicans, just like the Liberals or the Conservatives, actually care about the needs of the populace and are interested in doing anything about it. That as long as the populace is willing to vote exclusively along race, gender, and religious lines, they don't need to do anything in terms of class politics. This really ties in to something I say all the time, which is that Canada doesn't have class awareness. We don't have a class consciousness. That this trucker protest really shows that the people who are protesting are fundamentally protesting for their own enslavement, that they want to open up so that they can continue working for the capitalist death cult, so that they can get to Denny's, right? And so they're putting forward all of this energy and doing everything they can, but they're not, so in order for what? In order to fight for their continued enslavement. So instead of putting forward all of this energy to fight for their actual freedom, right? And all of that energy is just going to get funneled into the Conservative Party, which is the role of bourgeois politics here in Canada, to funnel political movements into dead ends so that the death cult can continue its project of extraction, of wealth extraction, which it's doing happily, right? And no one is confronting it and no one is doing anything about it, right? And for those of you who listen to this and think, well, then I'm going to go ahead and vote NDP. Okay, you do that. The NDP are part of this game too, right? That as the Conservatives have fallen into far-right extremism, right? The Liberals have slid into basic conservatism, right? They would have been basically the Red Tories back in the day. And the NDP have now slid into the liberal slot, right? Offer the barest minimum reformism, right? And don't even do that when you get power, right? That's the liberal grift, right? Promise as little as possible and then don't even deliver on that. And of course, the game is, once you actually do deliver on the barest minimum, like the 0.000001% delivering on the almost nothing that you put forward, when the Conservatives get in, they just move it back, right? That's the grift. And that's why our society is in a major decline. Because there isn't actually a political choice within electoral politics that is, hey, let's help people, and then actually help people. The Canadian political system has lost its credibility for this reason, and it's become dangerous, right? By chasing out actual socialists and communists from the conversation, they're not even in a position where they have to actually listen to these forces. And so there is actually no reasonable conversation surrounding things like the housing crisis. There is actually no reasonable conversation going on surrounding homelessness, poverty, these absolutely crucial issues. There's nobody involved in the political system who is reasonable or rational. They've all sold out to an ideology that has structured itself to be a death cult. And so whether it's O'Toole or Poilievre or Trudeau or Freeland or Jagmeet Singh, it's completely irrelevant. They're all going to act the same way. They're all going to subserviate themselves to a death cult. And this is why I espouse, as always, we have to surround the halls of power. There is no other solution. Unlike this protest, this convoy protest, I don't walk around saying that we need to resolve this with bullets, the way that somebody like Pat King will say. I believe that we can surround the halls of power and end this peacefully, that we should have a peaceful protest movement, that as Canadians come to recognize that the political apparatus itself is actually incapable of responding rationally to the demands and the needs of the populace, that we need to create a movement that says, oh, if you're going to abandon us, we're going to abandon you back. So engage with your electoral politics as much as you want, right? Vote for whoever you'd like, right? Do all that kind of stuff, so on and so forth. But understand that you're doing it that to a political apparatus that actively seeks to destroy real reformists and actually seeks to destroy anybody who comes into the political apparatus with the intention of helping anybody. That's how we've gotten into this position, right? The system itself refuses to allow people of moral conscience into it. And the only people who are allowed to be part of the political apparatus are people who subserviate themselves to the death cult. So we have to surround the halls of power, redraw our constitution, and simply ignore this system that currently exists. We have no alternative. It's already abandoned us. We have to abandon it back. All right, this is the end of this video, guys. Please like, please share, please subscribe. YouTube doesn't spread this stuff around, right? They suppressed leftists on YouTube. So if you don't share it, nobody sees it. I'll be surprised if they monetize my stuff, so please, I've got a Patreon down below. We have to support leftist voices. The power structure, the media structure, every aspect of this society is doing everything it can to ensure that the reasonable voices with actual solutions cannot be heard, so that the project of extraction and abandonment can continue unfettered. So please consider actually supporting a real leftist who's actually attempting to get something done. Always remember, guys, you are a quantum being walking around in quantum energy for the temporary time that you are here. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars to try to convince you that all you are is a commodity. Don't let them. Rebel, revolt, repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.